mission of India to accelerate positive change in the country. An ambassador of Indian business, she is a member of bilateral CEO forums with US and Malaysia. She is the immediate past president of All India Management Association, and under her leadership, IMA took important steps in areas of management education and skill development. She also guided IMA in using digital technology for better engagement with members, students, and shareholders. All India Management Association is pleased to confer its honorary life fellowship on Dr. Preetha Reddy, immediate past president, for her outstanding contribution to the organization. 30th September 2015. Congratulations, Preetha, on joining the illustrious IMA Life Fellows. I am sure the future IMA leaders will be inspired by you and benefit from your wise counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, in this session, we will focus on this common strength of our panelists. They are outstanding examples of winning against the odds. They have taken on established leaders in their respective fields and triumphed. It should be a lively session given that our panelists say it as they see it. Winning after starting from behind requires unconventional leadership. It is fairly straightforward to win by throwing resources at a challenge, whereas winning from hopeless situation is about resourcefulness of mind. Though it is easier said than done, challenges can win by redefining the flight and changing the goalposts. They can make an impact by creating the hope of change. The challengers can outmaneuver the leaders by being inventive and agile. However, the biggest challenge in beating the odds is to win support and attract allies. Others support your cause if they think you can win. Still, overtaking the leader takes more than a textbook wisdom. Each situation requires individual genius of a leader to make moves as competition develops. Each successful challenger has a unique story and a unique strategies. Let's hear our distinguished panelists about their unusual methods in taking on the giants and winning. It's now my pleasure to invite Mr. Rajiv Bajaj to address the convention. A transformational leader, he has reinvented Bajaj Auto, the one-time scooters company, into a formidable competitor and most profitable in the Indian motorcycles market. In fact, I was recently in Peru, and in a place called Puno, I was very surprised to see Bajaj Auto signs. I really didn't think that it will be there. Such an odd place. A visionary entrepreneur and an inventive marketeer, he has created a portfolio of high-performance motorcycles, and he is taking on the global motorcycle giants in India and overseas. May I request Mr. Rajiv Bajaj to share his secret recipe of winning against all odds.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Chief Minister and ladies and gentlemen, thank you first and foremost very much for inviting me back to IMA. Sometimes at places that I go and speak at, I'm not invited back. I don't know why. But you always call me back, so thank you for that. Before I start, I'd like to set context by taking off from a remark that our distinguished guest from Pakistan made, and if I may put it in my words, I believe in a world of opposites. I believe in a world of opposites because fundamentally, as someone said, you cannot comprehend heaven unless there is hell. You don't know what is good unless there is bad. You cannot appreciate an honest politician unless you have the other kind. You cannot be grateful for good times if there are no difficult times. And if I may say so, unfortunately, I think one reason why we often give the impression of being an angry country, whether on the roads or in the parliament, is because we think it's either one way or the other way. We don't believe that there can be more than one way and that both ways have their own validity. As the physicist Niels Bohr said, the opposite of a truth is another profound truth. And we must have the ability to put our minds around both the truths because, you want to talk? Because as someone else said, the surest sign of intelligence is the ability to entertain two opposing thoughts at the same time. I too was faced with, in my own small way, with such a situation. We were, as you just heard, a scooter maker. We were the number one scooter maker, but then we were limited only to this market. We were just a local, domestic Indian player. Now we live in the opposite world. We make motorcycles, but now we make them for the world. Unfortunately, we are not number one in every market we participate in, but now we are a global player. So we've had to make the transition between one end of strategy all the way to the other end. And I think while this has been a transformation, I would not say that we have applied any transformational strategies to the task. Rather, our strategies have been very conventional or traditional, as I will try to share with you. So I've taken the liberty to modify the title a bit. Instead of transformational strategies, I've called it traditional strategies. And instead of winning against the established leader, given that we have the Chief Minister present, I've called it sweeping away the established leader. So traditional strategies to sweep the established leader. Next, please. About 10-15 years back, my colleagues and I sat down when we had to craft our global strategy and we asked ourselves why the world needed us. There are so many political parties in the world. There are so many two-wheeler makers. The world doesn't need any more of us. And since we wanted to go global, we looked at our global competition out of Europe, out of Japan, and we asked ourselves, what do we have that they don't have that will make customers come to us? Can we actually stand in the shoes of the salesman in a showroom and say to the customer that walks in, our technology is better than Hondas or Ducatis or BMWs? With our hand on our heart, we were not able to say that. Can we say our quality is better? Not really. We are lucky if it's equally good, to be honest. Can we say that our cost is much lower? It cannot be because now they are also sourcing from here or making out of India. How about global distribution? Our global competition was already everywhere. We were a local player. Other parameters like advertising, etc. So we found that on any of these individual parameters, if you break it down in a reductionist mindset, we were not able to come up with a single reason. And then we realized that in our home market here in India, where we had been present for over 50 years, where our name was well known, we had become number 2. But in far-flung Nigeria, which is the largest market in Africa, with a market of 1 million motorcycles, that we had entered only 5 years back, we had become number 1. We asked ourselves, is this just luck by chance? I mean, nobody knows us in Nigeria. The top management hasn't even been to Nigeria. Actually, sometimes when the top people don't go somewhere, good things happen there. So, ऐसा भी होता है, but but let us not take that very seriously. And then the penny fell in my head when my marketing guru Jack Trout told me, customers are not so important. It is not important what your customer wants. It is what your competition will let you do. And we realized we were winning in Nigeria more than we were winning in India because our competition in Nigeria was not as strong as our competition in India. We were the same in both the places. Just like somebody won in Delhi but not in Varanasi. Yes, I am a great admirer and I would like to believe a friend of Arvind, so he will excuse me from time to time for this. But that is the truth of the marketplace. You know, it's a humbling thought. Success depends actually less sometimes on ourselves. It depends on who we are up against. And therefore we realized that if we have to outwit competition globally, we need a different strategy, or more specifically, we need a strategy of differentiation. And we had to articulate it in a very simple way. As someone said, never trust a strategy that you cannot illustrate with a crayon. I remember sometimes sitting with Arvind on his sofa at his house, and he would be sketching out his strategy on his book and showing it to me. Strategy has to be that simple in a company also. Because as I often tell my colleagues, it has to be simple enough so that you can align everybody from top to bottom, from the chairman to the watchman. Because sometimes the chairman is a bigger challenge than the watchman. You know, so that is how simple the strategy has to be. Next, please. I could spend 2 days explaining this to you, but we don't have that much time. Let me just say this. There are always 4 strategic choices, as I have understood through my experience at Bajaj, that we can exercise. On the top right, or on the top left for the people on the stage, is the strategy of doing things better. In a soda market, if you are Coke, if you are the leader, all you have to do is just improve your product or your advertising or your distribution or your cost a little bit. Better is enough for the leader. But if you are not the leader, as I was not in motorcycles, if you are the challenger, you need to exercise one of the other 3 strategies, because by making something like the leader, you only endorse the leader. You can either be like Pepsi or Thumbs Up on the top left, where you are still a cola, but you are a different cola. You are not a better cola, you are a different cola because you taste different. You don't need advertising to tell you that Pepsi is sweeter or Thumbs Up is harsher in its taste than Coke is. In our case, we designed one motorcycle called the Discover based on this strategy. At the bottom on one side, you see a 7-Up or a Sprite, which is no more a cola. It is so different from a cola, it is the opposite of a cola because it is transparent or it is white, and parents erroneously think therefore that it is not as bad for their children as cola is. This is another strategy. It's called the strategy of being the opposite of the leader. My Pulsar is the opposite of a 100cc motorcycle because they are about mileage and we are about the opposite of mileage, which is power. And finally, there is a strategy called be a niche, be a gorilla. The strategy of Red Bull or a sports drink, where you almost say, I'm not even a beverage. I'm something more than that. I'm good for health or strength or vitality, etc. So this can be applied very systematically within a company. We don't have time to go into that detail, but I thought in the current context, this is a slide I share often with people, so you may have seen it before, but now I'll show you one that you have not seen before, because I wanted to make it current to today's context. Next, please. So, if you're the leader, you're a broom with very hard bristles. You can be different. You can be a soft broom. You can be the opposite. You can be a small broom which is not for the floor, which is for the sofa or the table or whatever. And you have the earlier government. I come from the state where they say they are not a broom at all. They are God's gift to governance and they call themselves a vacuum cleaner. So then that is the niche strategy. That is a completely different way of doing things. So this thought process can be applied to any industry, to any segment. Having said this, Now let me share with you a little more seriously some of the things I learned from traditional wisdom. Preeta was just asking me how much time I spent on yoga every week, and I said 5.5 hours, 4 days a week. And I consider myself very, very fortunate because I live in Pune, 20 minutes away from where Guruji B.K.S. Iyengar used to live, all his life almost. So I've been his student since 2005. He passed away last year. And he taught me many things while he taught me yoga. And I would like to think that a lot of our management skills or techniques we have learned through, or I have learned through yoga, because the management books or the marketing books are available to everyone. How you apply the knowledge, that depends on you. So I'd like to share with you in a few minutes some of my learnings of the traditional wisdom from Guruji. Next, please. The first one is, you need a clear sense of purpose. Guruji always said, I asked him once, Guruji, what is yoga? And he said, at the simplest level, yoga is alignment. You align one toe with the other toe, one foot with the hand, all the parts of body with each other. Hopefully one day you will learn to align your body with a higher purpose also. So yoga is about alignment in life. It is my job at Bajaj Auto. If I believe the correct strategy is to be the motorcycle maker in the world, I have to align everyone to that thought. As much as whatever be the strategy Arvind has in his mind, he has to align everybody to that strategy. I remember last year him telling me how much difficulty, in a sense, if I may say so, he was having getting people aligned to the thought that we have to come back to Delhi, we have to perform in Delhi, we have to deliver in Delhi, we have to win back the trust of Delhi. And I think that is the reason they won like they won. So yoga is alignment, business is alignment, politics is alignment. Next, please. Once when I was hurt and Guruji was helping me to get better, and I asked him, Guruji, everybody says you are very tough. And he says, I'm not tough. It is just that when a person comes to me with pain, I forget the person, I focus on the pain. What was the lesson for me in this? The lesson was, as a business leader, you have to move from trying to be popular to performing. Because as someone said, the man who wants to lead the orchestra has to sometimes, in fact all the time, turn his back to the audience. So if you want to be popular and deliver as a challenger, I think it's very difficult. So commitment after purpose is very important. Number 3, next please, mindset. Once when Guruji came home, he told me, see, now we live in an age where any part can be repaired, any part can be replaced, it can be transplanted. People are even talking about full body transplants. He said, but it's all in the mind. And we all know that. As managers, we always talk about status quo or mindset. And he said, body is universal, mind is individual. Hence, all problems start in the mind. And he explained to me that, see, knowledge is not behavior. I mean, everybody knows smoking is bad, but their behavior does not reflect that knowledge. So there is a gap between knowledge and behavior. And that is the gap which is called mindset. How we overcome that is a question. It cannot be done just by giving an instruction, whether in a business or in a political party. I mean, I can just tell my people, produce quality. If it was so simple, it would be produced. Or somebody can just say, Bharat ko swachha kar do. Itna आसान होता तो कब का हो गया होता. It is not so simple because knowledge is not behavior. What is the next step then? The next one, next please. From mindset we go to technique. Once when I was struggling with a particular asana, Guruji said to me, the only problem in yoga is direction. In a holistic sense, not only in a physical sense, कि आप कहाँ मुड़ रहे हो, कहाँ twist कर रहे हो, कहाँ आपकी नज़र है. What are you moving? Are you moving skin? Are you moving muscle? Are you moving the joint? What are you moving? If the direction is not correct, you will get hurt. If the direction is correct, you will never get hurt, whether it is life, whether it is work, or whether it is yoga. So, understanding the correct direction and following that, one learns a technique. When I first started doing yoga, I could not cross my legs in the lotus position. I would put one leg up. By the time I put the second one, I used to fall back. From there, Guruji has taken me to a stage where I can stand in headstand for 20 minutes and cross my legs in the air. But this is not my capability. This is because he taught me step by step the technique which is to be used to achieve this pose. But the technique comes only if one follows the correct direction. Next, please. The next thing I learned, the next aphorism or sutra I learned, behind every technique there is a logic. Technique is not about something which is fashionable, something which is a buzzword, a slogan for the day or for the season. Management is full of slogans. Technique is about logic. When my back was hurt, I was told to go for surgery, back surgery, spine surgery. Naturally, everybody was very worried. And Guruji said, come to me, I'll fix you. And he fixed me, just with yoga. And he told me something which I will never forget. He said, you know, there are two schools of thought. Your surgeon belongs, if I may say so, to the Western school of thought. It says that function follows structure. I will operate on you, I will correct your structure, you will start walking as you are supposed to. So function follows structure. This is one way of thinking. He said our way of thinking, traditional way, is the opposite of that. It means structure follows function. You start doing your function slowly, slowly. Start standing up, start walking, start twisting, start bending, start stretching. In 6 months, your structure will fall into place. It doesn't matter whether you're a human being, an organization, or a political party. If you work in right direction with right technique, if we start functioning instead of only talking all the time, then the structure will automatically fall into place. This is what Guruji taught me. Next one. So far it was, next please. So far it was all about theory. Guruji told me, an ounce of practice is worth tons of theory. In fact, he would never give us time to sit when it was time for class. After class, you could sit with him, have a meal with him, so on and so forth. And he said, always keep these three things in mind, in life, in business, in yoga. First, be clear what position you are taking in the marketplace or on the mat. Second, in that position, find your center. Your center is a position where you are absolutely at ease. Because the opposite of ease is dis-ease. And you don't want to have a dis-ease. You want to be in ease. Find a position where you are totally relaxed in your business, in your life, on the mat. And from there, without losing your center, you stretch. Don't go into unnecessary places and stretch. If you leave your center, you will fall down. If you maintain your center, you will never stumble in life. This is what he taught me about practice. Next. When we are practicing, he said, I am not your teacher. Your breath is your teacher. Because before anything else goes wrong, your breath will go wrong. I mean, when I am sitting next to the Chief Minister, first my breath is affected before anything else is affected. You know? As long as you follow your breath and be aware of it, and if you keep it calm and under control, your mind will be calm, your body will be calm, everything will be calm. So follow your breath. Next one, attitude. Guruji even told me this once. He says, don't think that through yoga you are going to live forever or something like this. Yoga teaches us to cure what cannot be endured, and it teaches us to endure what cannot be cured. Nothing, I mean, in life for nobody, everything will be cured. We are all going to die one day, there is no doubt about that. But in the meantime, we can live with this attitude. It makes life easier. Second last, he often told me, you are my yoga child. This kind of love, or as somebody said in the morning, inclusion. So we used to almost, although Guruji was 94 years old, we used to think of him as a mother, because when he used to talk to us, when he used to put his hand on our back, it was like a feeling of a mother. I submit to you two very nice quotes on love, if you have not heard them. One is from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Love is the absence of judgment. Guruji never judged us. I try not to judge my people. And the other is from Mother Teresa. She said, if we judge people, we will never have the time to love them. So I think Guruji exemplified them. And finally, the last one, he always told me, you are only as old as your spine, because I thought I started yoga very late. He said, as long as, because the spine is the extension of the brain. He said, as long as your spine is vital, and I think if I may say so, Mr. Kejriwal is proof of that. Your name doesn't matter, your family doesn't matter, your background doesn't matter, your money bags don't matter, your connections or their absence don't matter. If you have a spine and a strong vitality from within, definitely you can sweep the leader. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bajaj. Ladies and gentlemen, in this very important session, we are all privileged to have in our midst this evening the Honorable Chief Minister of Delhi. And may I request now to Mr. Kejriwal to kindly deliver the keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, there he is talking about against all odds, transformational strategies to win against the established leader. Put your hands together and please welcome the Honorable Chief Minister.
Shri Hemant Nerurkarji, President IMA and Chairman TRL Krosaki Refractories Limited. Shri Rajiv Bajaj, Managing Director Bajaj Auto. Madam Preeta Reddy, Immediate Past President IMA and Executive Vice Chairperson Apollo Hospitals Group. It is my pleasure to be with you, and I thank IMA for inviting me to the National Management Convention and for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts with